guys, so I've just had a really lovely time at my friend's hotel in Gisenyi, and I'm heading back down to Kigali, but it's the last day of the UCI World Cycling Championships, and my house is right on the cycling route, and my road is closed until 5:30 this evening. So what I've got to do is find something to do for that time. So it's quite late, it's about 11:30, and the problem that we've got is that the weather forecast is looking shocking. Most of the time here in Gisenyi it has just been raining, and so the problem that we've got is I need to leave here before the rain starts, and then I need to find somewhere closer to Kigali to chill out and relax for a few hours before I can get into my house. So what I thought I'd do was to check out, there's some hot springs here in Gisenyi right next to the hotel, and I thought I'd go and check out the hot springs, but the problem with it is that the road going down there, it would be okay on a light bike, but my bike is very heavy, but it's also got a lot of luggage on the back. And so the problem with that is that, you know, if I skid, my bike's going over. So I didn't really fancy going all the way down to the hot spring. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to head up into the hills. When I was on the way to my friend's hotel, I discovered that there was a road that goes right up into the hills. So instead of going back into Gisenyi and out again, I'm going to take that road up through the hills, and at the top you turn left and you join up with Funda Tea Company, and then I can make my way home from there. So yeah, I'm just watching a load of goats going past. Let's get on the bike and see if we can get home. Alright, okay.
Yeah.
So it seems to be a running theme in Gisenyi that I am incapable of picking the right direction. Actually, that's kind of a common theme of my life. I'm pretty geographically challenged. I'm looking for the road up through the mountains that I ended up on when I got lost coming into Gisenyi. Now that I'm trying to get out of Gisenyi, I've lost that road. I should have gone up the hill rather than down. I stopped to ask these moto drivers, who pointed me in the right direction, although this guy was slightly less helpful and blocked me in. I'm not sure what he said there, but I set off again in the direction they were pointing. Bye-bye, Brilewa. You better believe I'm cracking open a mutzig when I get home. I thought I'd just pull up here and double check I was on the right path. This absolutely wonderful guy decided to show me the way. I was seriously grateful. That was so kind of him. This is the road I wanted to show you because it winds up into the hills. I can't imagine how much work it must have taken to carve it out of the ground. There's solid rock on either side, and the fact it's paved is really impressive. There's an incredible view from up here.
Instead of going all the way into Gisenyi and then along the beach road, you could hang a left at Funda Tea Company and reach Brilewa this way. I've never tried this before, which is why I'm exploring. It's a really nice road because there's no one on it. Coming in and out of Gisenyi on the main road can get a bit congested, but this is a lovely shortcut. Look at the sky, it's so dramatic. I have a feeling it's going to rain soon. And here we are, we've made it to the top of the hill. If you turn right, you join a gorgeous road that skirts down along the edge of Lake Kivu, all the way to Kibuye. It's really beautiful and cuts through some stunning tea fields. But we're heading left to Funda, where we'll join the main road back to Kigali. Again, it's such a treat to be on these wonderfully empty roads. This is not something you ever get to do in Kigali. As I mentioned, we're driving towards Funda Tea Estate. It's one of the oldest tea estates in the country, established in 1965, 3 years after independence. Some years back, I did a little video showing the factory. I'll leave the link above, but I wasn't really doing YouTube then, so it's a bit basic. I'd love to make a proper video about tea cultivation because it's such an impressive process. Tea is really important to British people like myself, and one of our most famous brands is called Yorkshire Tea. A lot of their tea comes from here. This is where it's grown.
Guys, so this is what I love about this road, is that's all tea fields behind me, and it's really beautiful. It's a bit of an overcast day, but it's still really beautiful. Right, let's follow him down to the main road.
Little did I know, that was not about to happen. I got back on my bike, turned the key, and nothing. Thankfully, this incredible moto guy stopped, saw what had happened, and went into Gisenyi to find a mechanic. We spent about 2 hours by the roadside. At least it allowed me to take a sunny picture of the tea fields. Unfortunately, sunshine was followed by loud thunder and a torrential downpour. I lent my wet weather jacket to the mechanic and was so grateful to get back on the road that I forgot to ask for it back. Thankfully, by the time I reached Funda, it had dried up again. is where our shortcut meets the main road between Kigali and Gisenyi. This is Mahoko, which is a busy town just outside Gisenyi. I'll slow down and drive through at normal speed. It always surprises me how many bars and pharmacies there are on such a short stretch of road. It reminds me a lot of the UK, where it will be bars and tattoo parlours or vape shops. Our countries might be 6,000 miles apart, but our social challenges are very similar, especially in rural areas. What is there for people to do other than bars and bookies? Anyway, there were periods of wet and dry and wet again. But eventually I made it back to Musanze, and this time I did drop into the new Kramer coffee.
Hi guys, so I finally found Kramer in Musanze. This is the new one. It's got such a tiny little sign. I went past it and had to turn around and come back. But I'm going to have a very quick coffee. It's almost 4 p.m, which means I've got about 2 hours before it's dark, and that's about how long it's going to take me to get back to Kigali. I spent 2 hours on the side of the road with a lovely couple of mechanics who eventually got the bike working again. I'm knackered. It started off, it was about like 35-degree heat. We were just there in the beating sun, and then by the time they finished it was absolutely peeing it down, so we almost drowned. I've just come down out of the hills, and you know, I'm so glad to be in Musanze, because as you come down out of the mountains you start to feel like the heat returning to your body. It's cold and it's wet up there, so I'm going to have a very quick drink, I'm going to have a wee, and then I'm going to sort myself out, and I'm going to get straight back on the road. I'm going to try and make Kigali before it gets too dark.
I couldn't decide between the cookie and the brownie, so I got both. And of course, I needed to caffeinate.
Hi guys, so I've just got back and I am downing a beer. I think I deserve it. Today was a long day. I was planning to get back to Kigali late anyway, because like I said, the cycling championships had my road closed until 5:30, so I was planning to come back late anyway, but not this late. I rolled in at 7:30. Basically, I decided to take the road up through the hills and to take a shortcut back down south. And I got to these tea fields and they were so beautiful, and I just thought, I have to take a photograph of this. Got off the bike, took a photograph, got on the bike. The bike did not start. There was no electrics coming on at all. Tried the kickstart, that didn't catch. Now, it had a bit of an issue like this when I first got it, because it's a 2019 model, which isn't that old, but at the same point it has been used mercilessly as a tourist vehicle, so it's had a bit of a beating. And it did have a bit of an electrical problem when I first got it, but my friend, the mechanic, worked on it and it's been brilliant. Like the past 3 months, I haven't had a complaint at all. Like, I would definitely not have taken it up to Gisenyi if I thought there was a real chance of that happening. And it was just so random, you know. We'd driven all over Gisenyi, up to Gisenyi, and then, you know, that morning it started fine, you know, and then it was literally just pulling over to take a photograph and it was gone. And then, as happens here, I quickly attracted a crowd. So about 15-20 people suddenly appeared out of nowhere. And the problem is, it's very, very kind of people to help. But what you find is that everybody starts to touch everything, and everybody's pulling on everything and touching everything, and you get a bit nervous when that happens, because you don't want to be rude and say, look, could you not? But also, you don't know what they're doing, and people are trying to be helpful, but I mean, including children, and you've got children pulling on things, and you're like, please don't. But then a really, really lovely motor driver called Ildefonse pulled over, and he went into Gisenyi and he got a fabulous mechanic called Tarsis and came back with him. And Tarsis is brilliant. By the time Tarsis got there, everybody else had kind of realised that they didn't really know how to make it work, and they kind of dispersed again. But Tarsis was brilliant, and they worked on it, like from the time it broke down to the time Tarsis got it going again was about 2 hours. But that includes, bringing him from Gisenyi. And when we started, it was like 35 degrees and beating sunshine, like midday sun and no shade, like we were crisping in the heat. Luckily I had some water, but then by the time that they finished, the rain had come in, like the weather had completely changed, and it was a downpour. And they were just, the fact that they stayed with me and they kept going until they got it working was just incredible. Really, really lovely guys. So, I couldn't have fixed that myself. If they hadn't have turned up, I would still be sitting by the roadside in Gisenyi. The minute that the electricity came back up, I hightailed it down to Musanze, which is about an hour away. I had a really quick coffee and a biscuit, but by the time I'd finished, it was 4:30, and it gets dark here at 6. I knew I wouldn't make it back to Kigali in the daylight, but I also had to contend with rain, and then the dark, and the road is like that on the way back. And then when I came down the hill and got to Kigali, the traffic was insane. They were clearing up after the World Cycling Championship, and literally all of our roads are single lane, very, very narrow roads. You've got these massive lorries, huge trucks on there, thousands of motors. It was just congestion city. It was crawling. I could have walked faster. And so it was kind of like the day had already been really, really long, but then that last bit was like the icing on the cake, but I needed to get back after 5:30 to get into my street. And, I was a good 2 hours later than that.
So the nice thing is I managed to drive straight up to my gate and into my house, that was appreciated after a very long day. What I've done is I've contacted my friend who sold me the bike, and I've just told him, you've got to teach me how to maintain it, because I'm not bad at fixing things. I quite enjoy learning to do that. Like, I learnt to fix pianos. I recently learnt to fix a laptop, which I thought was kind of cool, like the fans, and replace those. So a motorbike can't be beyond the wit of man or woman. But I need somebody to tell me where to start and what tools I need. But basically, I need to know what Tarsis did and how to do that, because I love my Enfield. I love that bike. I put half of my house on the back of that bike, and it just walked up to Gisenyi. It no problem. The hills, no problem. It handles really nicely in the rain. It takes corners really comfortably. It's a comfortable bike to sit on. So I love this bike, but I need to know how to make it go when it doesn't. And yeah, I don't ever want to be in that situation again, relying on other people to do that, because I absolutely, hats off to Tarsis. He really knew what he was doing, and I'm so grateful to them. But what if they hadn't been there? Or if they hadn't known how to fix it, I would still be sitting there, and I don't ever want to be in that position again. So, especially because I'd love to take that bike cross-border, I'd love maybe to go to Tanzania, maybe to Kenya, Uganda, but as it is, there's no way I'm going to do that until I can do a couple of decent road trips in Rwanda without a problem, or without a problem that I know how to fix. I don't want to risk taking it anywhere else, because it's an Enfield, and so not every mechanic really knows what to do with that here. They're not a common bike. It's not like India, there are not a sea of spare parts swanning around. So I want to learn how to deal with that. And but anyway, I'm home safe, and I'm feeling proud of myself, because I have learnt this weekend, because the weather was so bad in Gisenyi. I mean, it's been horrific. I did a lot of driving around in the rain, which is something you've got to be very careful with on a motorbike, because the problem is you can skid out on a motorbike in the rain. But I felt like I handled it really well. I'm not a fast driver, I feel quite confident about judging corners. I never really push the bike beyond what I think is comfortable. And I'm wearing my wet weather gear, and I realised actually something that I have discovered is I really like driving in the rain. If I've got my wet weather gear on, my helmet is modular, so you can either wear it as a half face, or you can wear it as a full face helmet. And if you pull the full face down, it's got a little chin curtain that stops the rain from splashing up. And it's like you're in a little cocoon. You've got your music going, your wet weather gear on, and I just really, really like driving in the rain. It's fantastic. But I didn't really know that, because I hadn't done a lot of driving in the rain before, but I just really, really like it. Yeah, it's calming. I prefer the rain to the dark. I find the dark is hard here, because a lot of the street lights aren't working, or if they're working, they're very, very dim, so you don't get a huge amount of it. And also, one of the hardest parts is there are no cat's eyes. So you've got no cat's eyes down the centre of the road, you've got none on either side of the road, so you've got nothing reflective to tell you where you are on that road. And there's a lot of sharp corners and bends, and also like surprise random pedestrian crossings on an 80k stretch of road in the dark, with nobody wearing anything reflective, no decent lighting, and no cat's eyes. It's not nice to drive in Rwanda in the dark. I really would suggest you don't do it if you don't have to. But I kind of committed by that point, so I kind of had to. But yeah, so all's well that ends well. I got home, I got my beer, and I think I'm just going to go and lie down for a couple of days. I've learnt a lot about myself as a biker this weekend, today in particular, and I'm proud of the fact that I handled it. But I don't want to have to do that again. So, time to learn mechanics, I think, or at least the bare basics of it.
Jazz has got zoomies. He's discovered his shadow. Got zoomies, babe. You zoom zooms. Oh yeah, here we go.